Lifeboat Live, we have 4 simple rules. Number 1, we don't discuss politics, ever. Number 2, this is not a religious channel, and while you might hear people say, God bless you, or I'm going to pray for you, or I wouldn't have gotten through this without my faith, that's fine. What's not fine is to say, my God is better than your God, or here's why you're not getting into heaven. It's not going to fly. Number 3, we believe wholeheartedly if you can't control your tongue, then you can't control your life. So while on board, there's not going to be any cursing in the live chat, period. And number 4, there is no room for mean people on the lifeboat. Because we discuss very sensitive things from people's past in our group setting, we got to protect those people. The only way they feel confident and comfortable discussing those things is in an environment that is free of trolls and mean people. So if you're a mean person or you're a troll, we're going to block you for life. And if your account happens to be less than 24 hours old, we're probably a little suspicious right from the word go. Why? Well, because there are people in this world who enjoy being cruel solely for the sake of being cruel. It's not going to fly here. But if you're here because you're trying to get sober and live your best life, then you might find that the lifeboat is just that, a lifeboat. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and we will see you on deck.
Sorry, people. Good morning. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and you're on the lifeboat. Sorry, I was reading the top 15 movies that destroyed the career of actors and actresses. Really funny. So let me see something here. There we go. So let me bring you up to speed on everything going on that is Captain Tommy. As everybody knows, I'm moving, so I have been. I've had a schedule that has been a little unusual. I've been getting up at about 4 a.m. because to do this, I got to get up at about 4 and get everything put together, and then I am Hunt. So I get up at 4 and I do the boat. Then I go outside and I watch the sunrise, and then I come back in here and I start packing boxes, right, for the move. And the super big boxes that you can buy to move, and they're the big boxes because you could not literally get your hands any wider. Don't do it. Come on, kitty. Squirrel is now going to try to disassemble the entire set. Come on. Come here. Oh, it's a good girl. It's a good kitty. So so it's the biggest box that you can possibly get. You wouldn't be able to get your hands any wider. So they're pretty close to 3 feet wide. They are the biggest packing box that you can possibly get. I have filled about 30 of them and carried them outside into the garage and got them stacked. I'm literally getting to the point where I'm almost running out of room to stack boxes in the garage. Good girl. And then I do my day selling watches. And I think I told everybody yesterday, my watch business goes in streaks. It's like the entire country gets the memo at once. I can go 14 days without selling a watch, and then I will sell 30 in like 4 or 5 days. And it never has made any sense to me, but it's like, honestly, it's like the entire country gets a memo that says, okay, it's time to buy watches. And yesterday I told you guys I landed a prop company that buys and provides props for period piece movies. So if it's a movie made in the 1930s, these people have to find props manufactured in the 30s. And they're doing a film currently that takes place in the 40s. And every man in this film needs to wear a watch. So the first day, I think they bought 3 or 4 watches. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And then yesterday morning when I woke up, there was another handful of watches that they needed to buy. And then they were like, they said, what do you know about watches of the 40s? I'm like, I know most guys didn't carry them. I mean, wear them. They were still carrying pocket watches. A lot of people thought that the wristwatch thing was going to go away, like it was some kind of a fad. And the older gentlemen, if you were not, fairly young at that point, or if you had not worn one in World War II, because nobody carried a pocket watch in the war. That's what sort of started the whole wristwatch for guys things, was the war. So they decided that they needed a bunch of pocket watches, which is not why I said it. I was just being honest, but which is great, right? It's really good for business. And I kind of needed it because the business had been slow, but now it's just been ridiculous. So I've been packaging up tons of watches. And the nice thing about these guys in Hollywood is that they don't negotiate for very much. If you say, this is how much I want for the watch, they might say, well, if I buy 4 of them, can you give me a deal or something like that? But it's not like the average watch buyer that would literally like to chisel you down to the very last penny and then ask you to cover shipping. That's usually the average watch buyer. At least the average watch buyer that buys watches under $1,000. They want you to cover as much as possible, and they just sort of chisel you. But the problem with these guys is that they need them yesterday. So they're filming in Rome. So I had to get all of these things boxed up, sent to California overnight, because it all has to go on an airplane to Rome. They're actually putting this on a plane with people because they can't get them to Rome fast enough if they don't just buy airline tickets for people. Hollywood spends money. I mean, there's a reason that that the cost of making a film are in the hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, because you just don't care. I remember when I filmed Funny Farm, we went to go film. It was I think it was either September or October. It was really cold, and we were filming on it. They wanted a dangerous curve. It's the curve that Chevy Chase drives his MG off a cliff on. And the problem was there was a tree there. And they were like, get rid of it. They went and knocked on the person's door who owned the house, and nobody answered. He's like, yeah, just take the tree down. And I thought, oh man, you don't know people from New England. Like, they're going to kill you for taking down this tree. And what they do is then just say to them, we're going to replace it. We'll bring in a tree the same size. Like, they just, the money that they spend is just absolutely bizarre. So anyway, I had to get these things, these watches, on a early morning delivery. So they're hitting Hollywood this morning, in theory, before 10 a.m. And then somebody's going to take a backpack full of watches and get on an airplane and fly to Rome. It's absolutely bizarre. The point is, I've really been going hard. And then I woke up this morning and I was like, you know what? I can't do it. I'm too damn tired. I'm just going to go back to sleep. I don't think I can do this. And the realization kicked in that if I go back to sleep, I won't just miss the lifeboat. I'll miss packing. And there's really not much choice in that matter anymore, right? Sorry, the cat really played with the lighting. This is past that stage. Like, there's no, I'll take a day off from packing. I'm doing this. I'm packing this house alone. So I thought this is a golden opportunity to talk about tired. They say that when terrible idea to chop down a tree in my yard without asking. M. Hunt, honestly, I believe you 100%. But the people in the part of the world where I grew up in, these people don't care about anything. They're really a bizarre part of the world. And I've been around, but New England is really, really odd. And, there was a guy, the very opening scene of that film, they wanted to film in a field that had one of the biggest red barns you've ever seen. It's just perfect New England red barn, huge. So, there are these scouts that go out and find locations to shoot. That's what they do for a living. They just drive around and find places. Oh, this should be perfect. So they go up to this guy and said, we really want to we want to film near the barn, and it's just going to be us in a field, There won't be a ton of stuff. It's just going to be, cameras. There's only 2 actors. So it would be in and out in one day. And, we'd be willing to pay you for the use of the barn. And I wasn't there, but the story goes, the old man just said, nope. Just this like crusty old Vermonter was like, nah, I don't want anybody traipsing through the field. I got cows and stuff in there. And they're like, well, we're going to make sure we take it. No. And they said, well, we'd be willing to write you a check. Keep in mind, this is like the 80s. They said, how about if we wrote you a check for $20,000? And the guy's like, no, don't want anybody in the field. Really don't need the money. I'm good. So apparently they were talking. One of the guys who was pretty smart said, okay, I understand. We'll leave. And then he kind of engaged the guy in a conversation. And he just said, tell me a little bit about the barn. When was this thing built? And the guy tells him, and he said, yeah, it's in perfect shape or what? I didn't see the inside. He goes, here, come on, let's check it out. And they walked in, and the floor was, the boards were pretty much destroyed. And it was because there was no basement in this thing. It was just on the ground and then up. And the wood was all sort of rotted away. And the guy said to him, how about we put a brand new floor in this? And anything you want. You want it hardwood, you want it laminate, you want it buffed, you want it shiny, you want something drawn or painted on it. And they cut a deal with this guy to put a new floor in his barn, which is why that opening scene is there. But they just, it's almost like they try to see how much money they can waste. It's very, very unusual the way that people film movies. It's almost like they're trying to break the record every single time for how much money can be absolutely wasted. I was a location scout for a student film organization I joined. Oh, nice, Lemmy. The people that do that for Hollywood make an absolute fortune. So I squirreled off there slightly. I blame the running on empty thing. So I thought this would be a really good opportunity to talk about hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. The other night I talked about pissed off, right? I covered the angry thing. Well, I didn't, but I could have. I just talked about being angry. The tired thing. This is of all of of that whole acronym. I think tired is the one that people sort of take for granted. You know what I mean? Like, well, tired is something we all have to deal with every single day. It's not that, guy used logic to be sure. The tired, we all get tired. It's part of every single day. It's not that big a deal. When you start the day, the way the day ought to end, you're in danger. That's where you get into problems for people with addiction. Now, you would think logically that if your substance of choice was a stimulant, so if your substance of choice was cocaine or methamphetamine or crystal methamphetamine or anything that, wakes you up, keeps you rolling, that you would probably be in more danger from from the tired and hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. It has been my experience that it is the exact opposite. When the people who do that, I've known a ton of people. The city that I live in is really, really awash with methamphetamine, or has been for a really long time. Right now, it's fentanyl has taken over this city too. You like that, Emma Hunt? This morning I was going to put, I'm not lonely or tired I'm not lonely or angry. I was going to do that one this morning too, but or hungry, but I figured since I'd already used that one. In my experience, the people the people who do speed or they do coke, when they get to that point where they're so tired they can't move, they lay down. It's like, okay, end of the run. They're on a 2-week run or they're on whatever. They will just lay down, sleep for 2 days, and then it like starts the next run, so to speak. It almost seems to me like it's far more of a problem for people who don't do that. Like, today is not an option. There's no sleeping for me. It is literally not possible. Today, appointments are going to start. Like, you can set an appointment today to come and look at the house. And I have moved, I don't know how many times in my life, but but very often from one part of town to the other. This is the second time in my life that I have owned a home that I had to sell, right? Where I had something to do with it. There was a third time, but I literally ran out of time. Hey, Jimmy Pickles, good to see you. So, so people are going to be start coming for appointment today. Everything's got to be out. Like this thing has to look like a model home, and it has been absolutely bizarre. The schedule I've been keeping. So last night I worked until about 11 at night. Started at 4 a.m, and at 11 at night, I was walking in to just like fall down and pass out because I was just absolutely exhausted. And I went into the bathroom to sort of brush teeth, get ready for bed or whatever. And I looked down and I looked like what I had been picking up all day long was like charcoal or something like that. I was just absolutely filthy. I'm like, I can't get into bed looking like this. So I had to take a shower right before midnight, which when I got out of the shower, I was wide awake. I said, oh, crap. So I came down stairs and I sort of went out in the garage and kind of organized a few boxes and tried to do something. And then I went up and I think I fell asleep at about 12:30, 1:45. And when the alarm went off at 4 this morning, I'm like, this isn't even funny. I had a Chi-Chi. Good to see you, Chi-Chi. How are you? Oh, I love it when Chi-Chi's here. Good to see you. I have done 3 or 4 shows over the course of the Lifeboat, and that were titled "We Need More Love in the World." And I used to say that the default setting should be Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi is just a really, really beautiful human being. Very, very kind. If everybody's default setting was Chi-Chi, we'd be in really good shape. So when the alarm went off this morning at 4, I said, there's no way that I could do this. I've messed my body and my mind up so many times. It gets harder to deal with normal society every time I'm straight. Yeah, there's something to that, Samara. And I think it's one of the reasons that we get messed up. For a lot of people, the inability to deal with straight society just means that if I get toasted or I get loaded or I get, fried or whatever you're into, it gives you an ability to cope, right? Drugs are a coping mechanism. Drugs and alcohol are a coping mechanism. And alcohol's a drug. I don't know what the hell I always have to say drugs or alcohol. I guess because the whole world does. I just should just say drugs. They're all a damn drug. Anyway, it's a coping mechanism for those of us who don't have coping mechanisms. So if you're going to a party and you think, oh, it's going to be a crowd of people and everybody's going to be staring at me and I got to talk and meet people and all of that. My first wife would work herself into a panic, and alcohol was the coping mechanism for that. And, then there would be something else, and the alcohol was a coping mechanism for that. And, we didn't learn coping mechanisms when we should have, right? Between the ages of about 13 and 26, when the rest of the world sort of gets this stuff under control, we did one of 2 things. We either started doing dope then, right? Or we kind of crawled into ourselves. Some people don't discover their chemical coping mechanism until later in life. And sometimes I think it's worse for those people almost because they chose not to develop social skills as opposed to just saying, all right, screw it, I'm getting high. They sort of ran from it. And when they find drugs later, it's almost like, I don't know. For those of us who start drugs really early, once we stop doing dope, this is, there's been so many books written on this subject alone, and I've read probably 5 of them. When you start doing drugs, your emotional development, your ability to develop coping skills and coping mechanisms, and this is how I deal with life and all of that garbage, it pulls the e-brake, right? You don't develop any further. From the day you start using drugs, that stops. And I don't mean you smoke pot once a month, but I mean those of us that, we start and we go hard. From that point, our emotional quotient, our EQ, pulls the e-brake. So, as I've said many times here, I started at about 13 and then I quit at about 46. So, for about what's that, 33 years, somewhere in there, uh, that was my coping mechanism. That was my everything. I was angry. I was hungry. I was lonely. I was tired. I was anything. I did dope. So, once I quit, I honestly had the emotional capacity of a 13-year-old and showed it through tantrums. They're older tantrums, but they're tantrums. And somebody hurts your feelings and you don't talk to them for 2 weeks, because that's what a 13-year-old does, right? You give them the cold shoulder and you get pissed and you say really nasty things that aren't very nice. Hey, Uncle Bill, good to see you. I'm having a decent morning, Uncle Bill. I'll be really honest with you. With 3 cups of high test, and I'm talking about high test, right? This is at this point, I think I'm probably using caffeine as a drug, which isn't necessarily a really good thing, but this morning it might be a little bit of a necessary thing. I cannot take this day off. I can't go back to sleep. I can't do any of that. This is a day that is going to require that I go hard. So all day today, tired is going to be an issue. And these days happen, whether it's hungry, angry, lonely, tired, there are times where you're on an airplane, you're on a bus, you're somewhere where sitting down at a restaurant and getting something to eat is going to be impossible, right? You're trapped someplace where for the next 5 hours, eating is not an option. So you're in danger. This morning I was going to do CBT, cognitive behavioral training. I'm not going to do that this morning. I'm too freaking tired, to be really honest, to do that this morning. So the one thing I will tell you is this. One of the keys to cognitive behavioral training, as opposed to everything else that people use to try to treat drug or alcohol disorders, drug disorders, whether you drink them, smoke them, shoot them, slam them, whatever. It's all the same thing. So with CBT, you take the CBT. I'm going to come back to that. So I'm sorry, but I run this through a computer, right? So I've got the setup and all of that, and email things pop up. And somewhere along the way, it might have been 100 years ago, but I signed up for something like, do you need a job or something like that? And these things pop up on the screen, banners, from these companies that are still trying to hire me for something. And there's one of them, and the headline, the header on it every time says, "Have you found a job yet?" And every time I read it, like I can hear my parents when I'm in my 20s. Like, it's just such a funny little pop-up. I'm sorry. I'm punchy as hell. I'm really tired. So, hey, Yanni. So CBT, cognitive behavioral training. The absolute cornerstone to cognitive behavioral training is taking a screenshot, for lack of a better way to put it. You take a screenshot of where you are. So if you start feeling like something's a little off, you basically detach yourself from the situation long enough where you can think without someone talking to you, right? Or without you staring at a television or a computer screen or whatever. You disengage for about 2 or 3 minutes, and you take a snapshot of where you are, and you run through, so that as opposed to just running on emotion, which is what most of us do all of the time, we don't let the logical part of our brain go to work. We live in the emotional part of our brain, which is why when we're trying to get sober and somebody says, "Hey, dude, I got a bag of this," we go, "Oh yeah, I'll do that." Because there's never even a thought. We don't let it get past the drugs. We never let it get to the part of your brain that goes, "Ooh, bad decision, bad decision." You're on probation. This is going to mean a drug test. This is going to mean you got that other part just going, "No, that means drugs." So in CBT, we take a snapshot of where we are and we evaluate it. All right, I'm really, really tired. Why? Well, I'm really, really tired because I've been putting in 12-hour days trying to pack up this freaking house. Okay. What are your options? Can you go spend the rest of the day in bed? Can we do that today? Not an option. So what are the options? Well, I can put about 4 hours, 5 hours in this morning, right? Just go to town. get as much done in the next 4 or 5 hours as possible, at which point I can probably pull about a 2-hour nap because the house will be done and it's going to be a while before anybody shows up for an appointment or anything else. I could probably pull about a 2-hour nap, which should, in theory, give me enough time in the sack so that my brain can at least pretend to function for the rest of the day. Is it going to be ideal? No, it's not. But it's going to be a hell of a lot better than trying to go from now until midnight. I don't think I can do 4 days on 13 hours sleep and not have anything good happen. Fortunately, I take a medication that would make screwing up really difficult. You have to plan your screw ups about 4 days ahead of time because of the stuff that I'm on. Which helps me stay on path and on sober. But you take a snapshot of where you're at and you evaluate it. You do everything within your power to push yourself out of the reaction part of your brain or the emotion part of your brain and into the part of your brain that actually evaluates what's going on in life and tries, in theory, to make decisions based on something other than emotion. We don't make snap judgments, we make decisions. And it's like there's a disconnect. We have to take the jumper cables off of the battery and stick it onto a different part of the whole mechanism. That's where the disconnect happens with people who are addicts. We allow one part of our life to absolutely rule every other part of our life. Does that make sense? That would be great. You know who you are, and that would be great. So allowing a part of our brain that shouldn't run the party to run the party. I mean, think about it for a second. Let's say you're a corporation, right? And you've got all of these divisions, and there's all of these things that have to happen, right? You got the logical part of stuff that has to happen, and then there's everything you need to do throughout the day, this and that. And what you do is, sometime at around 10 in the morning, you turn the entire situation and the entire company over to a 13-year-old. For real. Here you go. You run the place from here on out. Probably not going to make great decisions, right? Probably not going to make great decisions. So taking the time to figure out where you are is a really good thing. For some of us, it's like, I think I've used this illustration before. So I went to college with a guy. We were actually roommates for a while. His name was JJ. And JJ was epileptic, bad, like not the tonic-clonic, but grand mal seizures. And he had them constantly. There were times there'd be 4 of them in a day. And his roommate in college knew him from high school. And the two of them, like the family, basically, they all got together and said, if Joey doesn't live with JJ probably won't make it, because you have to meet people and go, hi, I'm glad I'm your roommate. I'm going to fall down and have seizures 3 or 4 times a day. And here's a list of things that you need to do when that happens. It's frightening as hell, especially when you're about 18 and all you do is party. So Joe would like step in instantly, clear stuff out of the way so the guy wouldn't hurt himself, get in there and stick something in his mouth so that his tongue wouldn't go back. Like, he really had issues. And it got so bad that there was an experimental procedure that they had done on everything other than a human at that point, but they had not done it on a human. And he was the first of the surgeries of its kind performed anywhere in the world. And this is going to sound bizarre, but what they did is cut his brain in half. Okay. So if you ever see a picture of the brain, there are hemispheres, right? And they sit on both sides. There's a very small amount of connective tissue between the two. And they went in and cut it. And the idea being that the signals that are jumping from one side to the other and causing the seizures would not be able to make that jump. Now, Since this had only been done on animals, they had not really had an opportunity to ask the animals, were there any other side effects? Because we're watching you in the cage and you seem to be doing fine. He was the first person that could articulate exactly what this meant. And when he woke up, there were times where if you put this in his right hand and said, "What do we have right here?" he would look at it completely perplexed and unable to tell you what it is. However, if he took it and put it in his left hand, he'd go, "It's a phone." Literally. Like this was the problem that he had. And he learned really quickly that very often you'd see him shuffling things from one hand to another because he was engaging the two parts of his brain. I kind of view addiction like that. There are times where we cannot seem to get anything done because the part of our brain that is running the show has absolutely no right running the show. We're running purely on emotion, right? Bad, all bad. So you have to figure out as an addict, what gets it from here to here? Because obviously it's not quite as easy as handing something from your right to your left or from your left to your right, right? This is something that's going to take a little bit more effort and a little bit more time. So what do you do to make that happen? And there are exercises that you can do that are supposed to pull you into the logical part of your brain. You know what does it for me? Writing. I'm not good at it. I'm really not. My ability to speak would make you believe that I could probably write. I can't. It's why I have the ability to speak, because the other option was I had to write, and I can't get the thoughts from here to paper. Really struggle with that. So if I sit down and I start writing, I have to engage so much of my brain to do that even half-assed decently. But it is going to push everything going on out of the emotional part of my brain. This is one of the reasons why I beat the hell out of the journaling concept. Because before you go to bed, you're going to turn off the emotional part of your brain and you're going to move everything to the logical part of your brain. That's a pretty good way to go to sleep. It really is. Instead of laying there in bed and going, you know what? She pissed me off so bad today. I swear to you, I want to kill that woman, right? Instead of any of that going on, you are going to lay down with your brain in the logical part. Yeah, today was a tough day. Maybe I did something to make her angry. I should probably apologize to her in the morning. Work will probably go better, right? When we engage the logical part of our brain and we're able to shut down the emotional part of our brain, at least don't give it the wheel, so to speak, we stand a much better chance of remaining sober. Make sense? Okay. So we do that before we go to bed, and it helps with the dreams as well. Your subconscious isn't going to get all screwy on you during the night. Then you wake up in the morning and there's a bunch of stuff going on in your brain that you have no idea about. That is why it is the subconscious, sub as in below, right? So it is just below the consciousness. You've got an entire party going on that's been going on for the last 8 hours. You grab that, oh, please don't, come here. You grab that notebook and you start writing, and you have now turned off that part of your brain that is literally throwing a party. Everybody in that part of your brain is in there doing all kinds of crazy things. I don't know if you can see her, but she's biting me. So it also shuts down that party that's been going on. Dreaming is when the subconscious works through things that you couldn't work through on your own. Don't know why. Don't know why you couldn't work through it, but that's literally what happens when you dream. So you're laying there and your subconscious goes, okay, this happened today, not very good. And he's not dealing with it, so let's deal with it. And it manifests its way in really strange ways, which is why when you wake up and you think of dreams and you go, man, that did not make any sense, right? You know, I was with my my high school girlfriend and my dad was there, right? And you just work through all this. You're like, what the hell was that all about? It makes sense to the brain. However, it may have thought 6 more minutes of this and I'll have this completely worked out. And then the alarm goes off and it's not worked out. So the subconscious pushes everything back down. You get up and you start your day, but you're not right. You're not right. You needed a little bit more time to work through whatever the hell you cannot work through while you are conscious. Get the notebook out. Take a pen or a pencil, put it in your hand, and just start to write. And it's not going to say, you're not going to end up writing things like, well, that was an odd dream, and my dad and my girlfriend was in there, and then all of a sudden your brain says, I got this figured out. That's not at all how it goes down, right? It isn't. Go ahead, squirrel. Go ahead. It's not going to be that kind of a situation. It is going to be, yeah, this is my life right here. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. This is my life. How about the basket? Can we do the basket? No. Okay. I'm sure everyone's having a really good time with this. This kind of drives me crazy. And this cat does this often. And very often she'll decide to leap on me from wherever she is with no warning. Star of the show. Oh, there you go. Good girl. Take the, when you sit down and write, you have to use so many parts of your brain in order to do that. Seriously, you don't think about it, but you have to use so much of your brain. There's a part of your brain that just deals with coordination, right? Which is really a necessity if you want to write, because you're engaging so much more than you think. It's not just the muscles of the hand, it goes all the way up to the elbow, goes to the shoulder. All of that gets turned on. And then the absolute logic part of your brain is necessary to think about the things that you're going to write. And then there's sort of the in-between, how do we go from the logic to the mechanic, right? The mechanics of writing to make the logic that you're thinking about. Once all of these things get engaged, very, very good things happen. Yeah, she's taking over. First of all, let's get one thing straight. She is in full control of this entire establishment at all times. Squirrel's been doing that since probably about the third week she got here. Squirrel runs the place. So let's see. Chi-Chi had a good idea. You know what? How would you direct someone with journaling if they don't often remember the dreams in the morning? Nobody. And I mean, almost nobody remembers their dreams in the morning. It really is a rare thing. And if you think you remember your dreams in the morning, there's a really good chance it's a conglomeration of 9 dreams you had. Like they've studied the crap out of this. You wake up in the morning and you go, I know exactly what's up. And you think, boy, that is so bizarre. Why would I be dreaming? Well, that may have been 5 dreams or 6 dreams. And when you wake up, you remember each part of them because the subconscious will hop from one dream to another. I mean, at speeds that are incredible. So if you're able to get into rapid eye movement, right? REM sleep, dream state sleep, right? The delta, the deep stuff. If you're able to get to that part of your sleep, and let's say you could stay there for 4 hours, you're not going to have a 4-hour dream. There's no chance in hell that happens. So you're going to work through all kinds of crap and it's going to jump from one to the next. And now you turn the computer back on. And when you wake up, you're like, oh, damn, that was weird. And you start running through all of the things that you dreamed about. You may not be remembering one dream. You may be remembering a half a dozen dreams. So what you do is have that journal, that notebook so close to you, it's insane. Like if this is your alarm clock, your notebook should be here. And you pick that thing up and do not think in any way, shape, or form. Put the pen to the paper and just let your brain go and start writing. And I actually took a college course in, it was a parapsychology course, but we did dream study. And this is one of the things that you do. And what you write down makes absolutely no sense. We'll do another Steve Martin reference because somebody loves it. And they always email me and say, I know where you got that. But if you do the Mambo dog face to the banana patch, where you just write down stuff that makes absolutely no sense, you look at it like, it's not even a sentence. Go back about 4 hours later and read that. And you'll go, oh, man, I had the weirdest dream last night. Bizarre, but true. Because what you're doing is, instead of putting something down that is logical, well, yeah, a lot of people, you hear people say all of the time, Johnny, that, I never dream. Trust and believe you dream. And you dream over every single night. If you do not dream, you will begin to dream with your eyes open. And I I took this. I've told this story probably 100 times on the boat, but I got paid in college to do a study. You could sign up for those stupid things. We're doing a study on smoking. I didn't want to do any of those because you had to pass a drug test for all of them. So the first one that we came across was for sleep study. Didn't have to pass any drug test, didn't have to do anything. You just had to go in and so there's like 3 different sessions. And when you went in on the last one, they ask you a bunch of questions in the first 2, and you agree that when you go in on the last one, you're going to sleep where basically people watch you sleep. And in the beginning, you're really uncomfortable. And then you sort of get used to it. And when your eyes begin to flutter in any way, they wake you up, right? Gently, they wake you up. Hey, Tommy, just got a couple of questions I need you to answer. And you go, yeah, sure, what's up? And you sit up in bed and they ask you some questions and they write them down. The questions mean absolutely nothing. What they're trying to do is get you out of what you were just doing so you will not lay back down and immediately dream. And they keep you from dreaming. Now, you sleep. You do tons of sleeping. You just don't do any dreaming. They keep you from getting into the deepest part of the sleep cycle. And this goes on for a long period of time. I think you volunteer for 5 days. It was during a vacation, and they paid $1,000, right, for that 5 days, when that was a ton of money. And then everybody is irritable and pissed, and for lots of reasons. You think it's because I'm not getting a good night's sleep. No, you're not working through anything that's going on, right? All of the things happening in your subconscious are now slapping the hell out of you, and there's no way for you to have a handle on any of it. So they then said, we'll double the money, but you just got to go another 2 days. And everybody bailed, everybody. And I thought, I'll do it. Like, I needed the money. At that point, I had a pretty rowdy drug habit and 3 or 4 dealers I was supposed to be paying by Friday, kind of a thing. So, I stuck around. And by the very end of that study, I was dreaming with my eyes open. No joke, like having conversations with people that weren't there. Scary stuff. And and all of it was videotaped. And when I went in to get paid, the person said, you want to see crazy stuff? And I'm sitting in a room having a conversation, lucid as hell, but you're only hearing one side of it. And there's nobody in the room, but I was deep in conversation with my mother, oddly enough. But you dream every single night. You dream every single night. Put that notebook as close as you can to the side of the bed and write down the first 5 to 10 words that pop into your head as soon as you get up. Don't think to yourself, I gotta figure out what the hell this means. Don't do that. Just keep writing. Don't try to figure it out. Just stream of conscious. You write whatever comes to the frontal lobe. Then don't read it. Just close the notebook, stick it away, go do your thing, make your coffee, have breakfast, take a shower, watch the sunrise, whatever. Then go back and pick it up and read it. And you will remember. It will freak you out. You will remember. Hey, crazy cat. Good to see you. Look who's back. You probably hear the purring now, because now she's in the mood to be touched. I grew up with my family talking about what we dreamed the night before. So I guess that's why I remember them so much. You absolutely can train yourself, Chi-Chi, and there's a lot to that. If you try to remember your dreams by writing stuff down, and you do this for, say, a couple of, she's chewing on my hand. If you do this for a couple of weeks, you can get to a point where you don't have to do it anymore. I mean, you don't have to write as soon as you wake up. You can go and do your thing and have breakfast and then journal later or whatever. But yeah, there really is a benefit to remembering your dream. And I'm not smart enough to explain to you why. But what it boils down to is you're allowing the subconscious and the conscious to get together and have a party. So instead of just trying to work all of this out during the sleeping hours, now the part of your brain that does that during the sleeping hours is having a communication with the part of your brain that does that while it's awake. And there's a synergy there that's supposed to smooth things out that we often struggle with. So there's something very productive to that. Your comment didn't show up. Well, that's not good. Did you say something bad about me? Huh? Paul, that's bizarre. You know, the YouTube is a very odd platform, and they kind of suck. They really do. They may have just decided that they didn't like what you write. They're really big into censorship. I'm not sure if you knew that. Crazy Cat says, button reminder, and that's awfully kind. It would be really nice if you guys all hit the thumbs up. It really does help. And I'll tell you what, it helps a hell of a lot more on that other platform than it does here. Good morning, precious people. Just another try to kick this incredible other level dope. Super sick of constantly tormenting myself with judgments on rapid fire. That sucks, Wolfgang. Do me a favor. I have an email that is really easy to remember. It is sober, S-O-B-E-R, sober at myyahoo.com. Drop me an email. Tell me what dope that is, how long you've been on it, what you've tried in the past to do to quit, and I will get back to you, and we'll talk. I'm not saying that I can help you, but I'll sure as hell give it an effort. And we have had some luck in the past helping people. Being around other people that have found their way out of the forest is usually a pretty decent way to try to figure your way out of the forest, which is why group therapy is something that has become so popular in all parts of the world. Go to the top of the chat and click the on live chat. Full of Hope. Listen to Full of Hope. Smart one. So I'm punchy. I'm not going to lie to you. I am absolutely punchy. I am really, really trying to creepy pasta. I believe it's an internet creepy pasta thing. Silly BS. Creepy pasta probably does not get used enough in our world. It's a hell of a. There's an image there that I really like in my dome. Yes, I knew where you were going with that. Hobotographer. He's back in the USSR. Oh, DOH. Not sure if I know what DOH is. Sorry, can't stay awake. People, I kid you not, all of the words on this screen, like I'm reading stuff and parts of CK and Paul and Full of Hope and M Hunt, like it is getting really difficult. I'll start reading one of you and I'll finish 3 lines down and then I try to make sense of it and it feels quite a bit like a dream. Yeah, I am absolutely. I'm punchy. You hear me? I'm absolutely punchy. All right, peeps, you know what? I think it's time I officially pull the plug. I am really, really tired, and I just hit my vape on the show, which I've done before, but I'm sure there's somebody out there trying to quit nicotine, so that probably wasn't very kind. I've missed you too, Paul Sargent. People, I'm sorry. But I really didn't think I was going to be able to get through 10 minutes of this, so I'm absolutely impressed that I got within 10 minutes of pulling off this entire live stream. I really am. You know what, M Hunt, I'm going to try. I got a text during this that from someone that said, get a longer nap and I'll do tonight's show. So I might just be able to get myself back on track. You know what's funny? This little wretch has been trying to destroy the set for the entire show, chewing on my fingers, climbing up on my back, and then she just wants to chill out and get in the basket for the very end of this thing. We'll see if we can get a yawn out of her. Like, what do you think? That right there? That is a cat in a basket. And an evil one at that, if you really want to know the truth. Yeah, he's a good kitty. I'm going to go watch the sun come up, and then I'm going to get to work. People, have a great day. Yeah, Wolfgang, reach out to me, man. Seriously. Every once in a while, we're able to make some pretty good things happen. I swear to you, I cannot remember how to end these streams. I got to look for a button here. Getting a little punchy. Spent way too many hours away. Let's see if this does it. There we go. All right, peeps. Captain Tommy Scoville. We'll see you later. Have a great day. Make it a great day.